My nephew unwrapped my kid's birthday gift and said, "This is cooler than what I got, I'm keeping it." My brother said, "Let him have it, it's not that serious." I nodded. And the next day his car payment didn't go through, because I'd stopped sending it. And then it was my son Carter's 11th birthday and I'd been planning the day for months. He's been through a lot this year. A school transfer, a broken arm from soccer, and some rough patches with a couple of so-called friends. So I wanted this birthday to feel different. Celebrated. Safe. I got him the iPhone 16 Pro. I know some people would roll their eyes at giving a kid something like that, but this wasn't just about a phone. Carter's been getting into photography. He watches tutorials, edits little videos on my laptop, and genuinely puts in effort. He's also the most responsible kid I know. Makes his bed without being asked, takes care of our dog better than most adults care for their own children, and doesn't ask for much. I wrapped the box myself. Used 3 different layers of wrapping paper just to mess with him, and tied it with a blue ribbon because that's his favorite color. The party was just family. A small group. My parents. My younger sister Lexi. And unfortunately my brother Troy, his wife Jamie, and their 13-year-old son Mason. Troy and I were close once years ago. But over time he became someone else. Arrogant. Lazy in ways that didn't even make sense. He talks a big game about being a provider but hasn't held a steady job in 3 years. The worst part is how he parents Mason. But doesn't. Mason's the kind of kid who walks into a room like he's the main event. Loud, dismissive, constantly grabbing things that don't belong to him. I've caught him rummaging through drawers before, once even pocketing a pair of my mom's AirPods. Troy blamed it on curiosity. Said boys are just naturally more explorative. Anyway, we got through the food, the cake, the singing. Carter was having a good time, smiling, being his usual polite self. He opened a few gifts. Some books from Lexi, a baseball cap from my dad, a handmade card from my mom that actually made me tear up. Then finally the gift from me. He tore off the first layer of wrapping, laughed, kept going. When he got to the actual box and saw the Apple logo, he just stared at it, grinning. I could tell he knew what it was. He looked at me not for permission, just out of gratitude. But before he could even open it, Mason swooped in. He didn't ask. He didn't joke. He just grabbed the box out of Carter's hands and went, "This is cooler than what I got last month. I'm keeping it." There was this silence. Not awkward, charged. Carter stood there stunned, looking at me, still holding the scraps of wrapping paper. And then, as if the situation needed more absurdity, Troy actually laughed. Loud. Said, "Let him have it, it's not that serious." I looked at him. He wasn't joking. He thought this was funny. Thought Carter would be fine just walking away from his own birthday gift because his cousin decided to snatch it out of his hands. I could feel Lexi staring at me. Even Jamie looked uncomfortable, but of course she said nothing. Carter didn't cry. He didn't throw a tantrum. He just nodded when I told him we'd talk later. And that was that. But I wasn't letting it go. What Troy forgot or ignored is that for the last 2 years I've been quietly helping him keep his life together. He never tells people, but I've been covering his car payments every single month. He lost his job in 2021 and begged me not to tell our parents. Said it would only be for a few months. I agreed. That was 24 payments ago. The next morning I called the bank and cut it off. No warning. No explanation. Payment bounced. And that was just the beginning. By the time Troy called me that afternoon, I was already halfway through drafting an email to have my name removed from his credit card account. The car payment bouncing was just the first domino. He opened with small talk, like we hadn't just stood across from each other 24 hours ago while his son robbed mine in plain view. "Hey, weird thing happened with the payment this month. Did it get delayed or something?" I didn't respond right away. I wanted to hear where he'd take it. He rambled on for another minute, laughing like it was some fluke. Then I told him, "It didn't go through because I stopped paying." Silence. I could almost hear the click in his brain, like something short-circuited. He asked why, in that annoyed tone he uses when someone dares to inconvenience him. I said, "Mason stole Carter's birthday gift and instead of correcting him you laughed. You told me to let him keep it." He actually sighed. Like I was being dramatic. Said, "It's not that serious. It's a phone." I reminded him it wasn't just a phone, it was Carter's birthday present. He said I was blowing it out of proportion and that he couldn't believe I'd let a kid's squabble ruin everything we've built as siblings. That part made me laugh. Built what, exactly? Me bailing him out for 2 years while he plays entrepreneur and posts motivational quotes on Instagram? I didn't give him another second of my time. I hung up. Later that evening Jamie texted me. A longer message. Nicely written. Said she understood where I was coming from, but things were tight right now, and maybe I could just help this month until they figured things out. I told her I was sorry really, but I couldn't. I didn't explain. She didn't reply. That weekend was quiet. Carter was more affected than he let on. I offered to buy another phone and he told me not to worry about it. Said it wasn't a big deal. That he'd rather save up and buy one himself someday. 11 years old. Teaching himself to move on while his cousin still throws fits in public if a soda has too much ice. Monday morning I got a fraud alert from the credit card company. At first I thought it was spam. Then I realized it was that card, the one I co-signed for Troy 3 years ago. The one he promised was for emergencies only. Turns out he'd maxed it out and set it up to auto-pay minimums using one of his checking accounts, which had just been frozen due to overdrafts. So now the card was bouncing too. I spent the entire morning on the phone with customer service, explaining I no longer had any financial ties to him. They needed documents which I had. Took hours but I got it done. Requested full disassociation. Told them if he tried to use my name for anything again I'd escalate. The fallout came fast. Jamie called me again but not crying this time. Furious. Said I was tearing their family apart. That Troy was humiliated. That he couldn't even put gas in his car now. I asked her where that same energy was yesterday when Mason took Carter's gift and Troy defended it like it was nothing. She said that had nothing to do with this. Said no. That had everything to do with this. And then Troy texted me. Well, over a damn iPhone. I stared at that for a while. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed what I already knew. He really didn't get it. He didn't see what the problem was. I wrote back, no. Over a damn lack of respect. He didn't reply. But I knew he would. Eventually. Because the real pain was only just starting. 3 days passed without a word from Troy. Then I got the voicemail. He didn't call to talk, he left a message like a coward. His voice had that fake, steady tone he uses when he's trying not to sound pressed. He said he was disappointed in me. That I was weaponizing money against family. And the part that really made me pause, he said, "This isn't how mom and dad raised us." That line. Every time he gets called out, he hides behind our parents like we grew up in some kind of moral utopia and I'm the one breaking the code. I didn't respond. Instead I focused on Carter. He wasn't pouting or complaining, but something in him had shifted. His backpack sat untouched for 2 days. He didn't take a single picture all week, and this is the same kid who used to photograph ants on the sidewalk just to test lighting. Then I saw it. TikTok. Mason had posted a video of himself unboxing the iPhone 16, with the caption, "Finally upgraded. Late birthday flex 100 points. Carter wasn't even tagged, but some of his classmates saw it. One kid apparently said, "That's the phone your cousin stole, right?" Carter didn't tell me. I heard it from his teacher after she called to say he'd gotten into a quiet standoff with another boy. Nothing physical. But Carter had snapped. The counselor got involved. That was it for me. The next morning I texted Jamie to let her know Troy needed to call me. Not her, not Mason. Him. A few hours later my phone rang. He started with, "What now?" I told him plainly I want the phone back. He laughed. Full-on laughed like I just asked him to hand over a winning lottery ticket. He said, "You really think I'm gonna take a phone from my kid because your kid's feelings got hurt?" I told him it wasn't about feelings, it was about respect. He said I was overreacting. He said I needed to grow up. Then he started going off about how I've always held money over people like I get some thrill from it. I told him, "You're confusing help with control. I helped you when you couldn't help yourself. What you're feeling now is what it's like when someone finally stops." He hung up. That night, Jamie showed up at my house. She didn't come in. She just stood at the door holding the phone in its box. Still sealed. She didn't say a word. Just handed it to me and left. I called Carter downstairs and handed him the box. He didn't say anything. Just nodded and walked back to his room. It took an hour before I heard the camera shutter sound again. And I thought, good. That was the first crack of light after all this garbage. But I knew it wasn't over. 2 days later Troy went nuclear. He posted one of those long self-pitying rants on Facebook. Not a single name mentioned, but it didn't need one. A whole paragraph about how some people confuse generosity with power, and think being right is more important than being decent. His friends jumped in. A few of our cousins commented things like, "Damn, that's cold," and "Some people forget where they come from." And that's when I knew exactly what was coming next. Our parents have a fund. A quiet savings account that both Troy and I had access to for family emergencies. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to matter. I'd never touched it. Troy had twice. First for his move after the foreclosure. Second when Jamie had her surgery. Apparently, right after he returned the phone, he tried to pull from the account again. He didn't even tell them. Just requested the withdrawal. I only found out because the financial advisor emailed me asking to confirm the request. I called my parents immediately. They were stunned. They had no idea. My dad was furious. My mom was hurt. I told them I wasn't asking them to cut him off. I was just telling them what he was doing behind their backs. The next day they removed his access completely. Troy didn't find out until he tried to pull money for his car insurance and the transaction got flagged. That night I heard him screaming in the background when Jamie called. She didn't even ask me anything. He just said, "I hope this was worth it." I told her, "Ask your husband." He started it. And hung up. The peace only lasted until the next family dinner. Because that's when everything really exploded. The family dinner was supposed to be at Mom and Dad's house. It was their idea. One of those forced gatherings where everyone pretends nothing's wrong for the sake of keeping up the illusion. I didn't want to go, but Carter said he would. And honestly, I wanted Troy to look me in the eye. Just once. Lexi was already there when we arrived. She gave me that look like she knew something was going to pop off before dessert. Jamie and Mason were in the living room. Mason was on his phone, probably the old one since the iPhone had mysteriously vanished from his social media a few days ago. I figured Troy made him delete the video, or maybe he thought taking the posts down would make me forget. Troy walked in from the kitchen like nothing had happened. Tried to give me a hug. I stepped back. Everyone noticed. Dinner started awkward but quiet. Mom asked about school. Lexi talked about some guy she's seeing. Carter answered questions in one-word sentences. Mason threw a green bean at Lexi's head. Normal dysfunction. But then Dad, always the one to break the peace, asked Troy if he'd found a new job yet. Troy shrugged and said, "I've been focusing on building something instead of being someone's puppet." And then without even glancing at me he added, "Unlike some people." I took a sip of water and said nothing. Lexi looked at me like she was counting down to impact. Then Jamie joined in. She said she hoped we could all start acting like adults again and leave petty stuff in the past. I looked at her, still silent. She went on, said it had been months of unnecessary tension, which funny enough had only been 2 weeks, and said we should move forward for the kids. I finally spoke. I said moving forward means you stop acting like what happened didn't happen. And that was it. Troy slammed his fork down and stood up. Said he was sick of being painted as the villain. Said everyone treated me like some kind of queen just because I make more money. That none of them had any idea what pressure he was under. He turned to Dad and shouted, "You think she's so perfect? Ask her why she really pulled me off the account. Ask her what she said to the bank behind your back." That's when Carter stood up. Everyone stopped. He looked right at Troy and said, "You let your kid steal from me. You laughed. Then you let him post it online and pretend it was his. You embarrassed me in front of my whole class." Troy tried to say something but Carter cut him off. "You didn't even say sorry." Got quiet after that. Dad told Troy to sit down. Mom told Jamie to stop talking. Lexi was just shaking her head, muttering, "Jesus Christ. Mason?" He had the nerve to smile. Then the surprise. My dad got up, went into the den and came back holding a folder. Said he'd made a decision earlier that week and wanted everyone to hear it together. He opened the folder, handed me a copy of something. It was a legal form. He and my mom had restructured the emergency fund. It wasn't joint anymore. They split it. Half in my name, half in Lexi's. Troy's name was gone. I looked up at him. He said, "We trusted you. You abused it." Troy looked like he'd been slapped. He turned to Mom. She didn't even look at him. Then he stormed out. Didn't say a word. Jamie chased after him. Mason stayed for a second longer, looked at Carter and said, "Guess you finally got your little toy back." Then left. Carter sat down. Picked up his fork. Ate like nothing happened. Later that night, Troy did what he always does when he's cornered. He went online. This time it wasn't just a Facebook rant. It was a full-blown story. He posted screenshots of his car repo notice, exaggerated a few facts, made himself look like a victim. He even implied that I was manipulating our parents into cutting him off. And then, unexpectedly, he posted a fake Cash App screenshot showing he'd paid me back for everything I'd ever helped him with. The comments exploded. Friends, extended family, even a couple of people from church jumped in. Only one of them was a lawyer. Lexi sent me a screenshot. The comment read, "Careful. That's fraud." Things were spiraling for him fast. But I wasn't done watching. The fake Cash App screenshot was such a lazy attempt at saving face that I almost laughed. Almost. He'd posted it late at night, just like he always does when he wants to stir the pot while pretending he's unbothered. The amount on the screenshot was way off, the timestamp was blurred out and the caption said, "Paid my sister back. Now she can stop acting like she owns me." Lexi forwarded it to me with one sentence. "You seeing this circus?" I didn't comment. Didn't have to. The comments under his post did all the talking. People from high school. Old coworkers. One of our cousins. Even Jamie's aunt from Texas who's never met me wrote, "Proud of you, Troy, for being the bigger person." That's when Lexi dropped the hammer. She tagged a lawyer friend of hers who replied with one line. "Careful. Falsifying financial records publicly can count as fraud." The post disappeared an hour later. No apology, no correction. Just vanished. But it had already done the damage. By the next morning Mom was calling me. She'd seen it. She was confused, asking if Troy really had paid me back. I told her no. That it was just another lie. That it wasn't even the worst one. And then, without planning to, I told her something I'd been keeping to myself. That 2 years ago Troy asked me to co-sign a personal loan. And I'd said no. Because by then I already knew what kind of chaos he leaves behind. He told me if I didn't I'd regret it. That I'd be choosing money over family. And now here we were. She didn't say anything. But I could tell something clicked for her. Still, a few days later she tried again. Said it would mean a lot if I came to the family Christmas dinner. Said she missed me. That Carter should be with his cousins. I told her Carter had already decided. He wanted to spend Christmas somewhere else this year. Just the two of us. I didn't say it to punish anyone. I said it because I meant it. I was done showing up to places out of guilt. I was done sitting at tables with people who smiled at me with their mouths and disrespected me with everything else. Then the next thing happened. And this one threw me. Troy showed up at my office. Not with Jamie. Not with Mason. Alone. I was walking to my car during my lunch break, and there he was, leaning against the passenger door like he had something important to say. I thought maybe he was going to apologize. Or at least pretend to. But no. He said, "So what, you cutting me off now?" Like completely. I didn't answer. He said, "You happy now? You got your little win?" Then he asked if I was proud of myself. Said that me turning our parents against him was low. That I was acting like some saint when I'd been holding his past over his head for years. I told him I never held anything over him. I just stopped shielding him. He said, "You always think you're better than everyone." Said no. I just think I deserve better than being used. He walked away without another word. I thought that might be the last time I'd see him for a while. But I underestimated him. 2 days later a box arrived at our house. No return address. Inside was an iPhone 6, cracked screen, dirty, barely working, with a piece of notebook paper taped to it that said, "Hope this one's more his level." Carter opened it and looked at me. I took the phone, walked it straight to the trash and said, "Let him have the last word. That's all he's got left." But he wasn't done. Next came a comment under Carter's Instagram post. A clown emoji and a thumbs down. I didn't even have to ask. Carter blocked him immediately. Said, "I'm tired of pretending we're family just because people say we are." That night I sent a message to my parents. Told them Carter and I wouldn't be coming to Christmas. That we were flying out on the 23rd. Somewhere warm. Somewhere quiet. I didn't need their permission. I just didn't want them waiting for us. Mom called the next morning. She begged. Said it would tear the family apart if I didn't come. Said I was the adult and I should be the first to reconcile. I told her I've been the adult this whole time. Then she said the one thing that made everything click. "Monica, maybe you should be the bigger person. Maybe you should reach out first." I took a long breath. Then I told her the truth. I've been the bigger person for years. I paid his bills. I kept his secrets. I looked the other way while he raised a disrespectful, entitled child who bullied mine. I let it all slide to keep peace. But now, oh, he's a grown man. Let him clean up what he broke. We booked our flights that afternoon. When Christmas came, Carter and I were 1,300 miles away. On the beach. Watching the sun set with our feet in the water. He took more pictures that week than I've seen him take in months. And Troy? He didn't show up to Christmas either. But that wasn't a peace offering. That was a tantrum. And the silence he left behind? That was him daring our parents to miss him enough to beg. But this time no one did. Coming back from that trip felt like landing in a different version of our life. Not better, just clearer. Carter unpacked his camera gear before his clothes. He was already editing before I finished going through the mail pile. For the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel like something I had to defend. It just felt like ours again. 3 days after we got back, I got the expected message from Mom. "Can we talk in person?" I met her at the usual coffee shop near her place. She hugged me like everything was normal. I sat down, waited. She got to it fast. She missed us at Christmas. It didn't feel the same. Then she said quietly that she and Dad had spoken to Troy. That things were calmer now. And then they asked she wanted me to reach out first. Said someone had to. Said family doesn't heal through silence. I looked at her and asked, "What exactly has Troy done since Christmas that tells you he wants to make things right?" She didn't answer at first. Just gave me that vague mom face, like disappointment mixed with forced optimism. Then she said he's been through a lot. "So has Carter," I told her. She said, I know. But you're the stronger one. You can take the first step." I said I did. I took the first step when I paid his car note. And the second and third and 20th. This isn't about strength anymore. It's about respect. She said nothing after that. She just stirred her coffee until it was cold. I left first. A week later, Troy messaged Carter. Just one line. Sorry things went down like that. You deserved better. Carter showed it to me. Didn't ask for advice. Just said, what do I even do with this? I told him nothing. You're not obligated to carry his apology for him. That's his. Not yours. Carter deleted the message. Then came the final quiet fallout. It didn't come from Troy directly. It came from a cousin who texted me after a backyard cookout. She said Troy had been talking, loudly, about how I poisoned Carter against him. Said I was manipulating our parents. Said I was building a wall around myself just to feel powerful. He still couldn't say the word accountability. Not even when drunk. But what surprised me most wasn't that he was still talking. It was how little I cared. I read the text and didn't even feel my chest tighten. Just a dull sense of confirmation. This is who he is. This is who he chooses to be. And that's when I started closing the door for good. I went back through every tie I had to him. Our parents' financial advisor, the insurance policies, even a shared account our dad opened years ago to keep things fair. I had my name pulled off everything where his name appeared. Nothing dramatic. Just clean. Quiet. Final. A few weeks later, Mom tried again. Not to push a reunion this time, but to ask how she should handle things moving forward. I told her she was free to love both her kids. But I wouldn't be at the same table as someone who let their child humiliate mine and laughed while it happened. That was my line. She sighed and said, I just hate the silence between you two. I told her there's a difference between silence and peace. I finally have the second one. And that was it. Months passed. No more texts. No more games. The distance didn't close. It just became normal. Carter won a regional photo contest. He got a certificate in the mail and stuck it on the fridge next to a picture he'd taken in Miami. Sunset over the ocean, warm light everywhere. We were eating breakfast when he said, this year was kind of the worst. But also kind of not. I smiled and said, yeah. I know what you mean. We still hear about Troy now and then. Mostly from people who haven't caught up with the full version of the story. Some ask if we'll ever patch things up. I always say the same thing. It's not about patching it up. It's about deciding what you'll let back into your life, and what you're finally brave enough to leave out. I chose peace. And peace stayed. Sometimes when I drive past the street where Troy and Jamie used to live, I wonder if he ever looks back and realizes what he traded for pride. Not just the money, not even the phone, but the trust, the closeness, the family that once gave him every benefit of the doubt. Carter never asks about him anymore. And I don't bring it up. Not because it hurts, but because it finally doesn't.